Now, world leaders, NGOs and financial institutions prepare to gather in London on Thursday for an anti-corruption summit that host Prime Minister David Cameron said will spur new global action in the wake of the Panama Papers leaks. About 40 countries have been invited alongside bodies such as the World Bank and the IMF, with the presidents of Afghanistan, Colombia and Nigeria and U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry among those due to attend. Now, for a preview of the upcoming London summit, Maggie Murphy of Transparency International joins me live via Skype from London. Maggie, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, surely could there have been a better time for this kind of summit?
Definitely not. But it's not just on the back of the Panama Papers. We've just had 1, 2, 3 years of really big corruption scandals hitting the news. When you think about the FIFA scandal, or you think about Petrobras in Latin America, or you think about what happened in the Ukraine, all of these events are now coming to fruition. It is a really perfect time to have a global anti-corruption summit.
Now, we know that corruption takes different forms in different countries. What really can we expect to be put on the table during this summit on Thursday?
Well, what's really interesting about this summit is that there is only one agenda item: corruption. In many other global summits, they're talking about an array of issues. But as you say, there's lots of different types of corruption. What Transparency International hopes that we see is a focus on comprehensive reforms, not just one issue. We're looking for governments to be committing to prevent corruption, but also punish people who have been found complicit in corruption. And very importantly, we're looking for governments to protect citizens and whistleblowers, those people who are brave enough to report corruption in their countries.
But Maggie, in some of these countries, and I can think of many African countries, the leaders of those countries are themselves complicit in some of these corrupt cases. How do you expect them to take action against those who blow the whistle?
Well, this is a really big challenge for this type of summit. We know that Prime Minister Cameron has wanted to invite only countries that he thinks are willing to make ambitious commitments. We know, however, that there are a number of countries that are coming to the summit that do not have the best backgrounds. But what we're trying to see is whether there is a real ambition to change, whether these governments have listened to the people in their countries, have felt the anger on the back of the Panama Papers and said, okay, the time is ripe. We actually need to deal with this because of the impacts that corruption has on security or on our economies, on our citizens.
Now, would you say those who have a little more higher moral ground in terms of less corruption, like in some of the Western countries, can exert, sufficient pressure on some of the more corrupt countries, especially in the developed nations?
I don't think this is an issue about richer countries occupying moral ground and developing countries being the ones that have the corruption problem. In fact, what the Panama Papers showed us was just how complicit the middlemen, people that sit in nice fancy offices in rich countries around the world and make a profit of corruption. We've seen how the middlemen are complicit. We've also seen that some rich countries are very willing to receive corrupt funds. Maybe in the real estate market or in the luxury goods market. Yes. So corruption cannot be seen as a developing country issue anymore.
Maggie will follow up on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, Maggie Murphy of Transparency International joined us live via Skype from London. Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa.